I am the witness, the silent observer of humanity's trials against the unknowable. Tonight, I bring you the story of Father Elias, a man of faith who walked willingly into the void for the sake of others. But even the strongest faith can falter in the presence of true darkness. This is his final tale. Years after his triumph over the darkness within the Marlowe house, Father Elias had become a figure of quiet reverence in his parish. Though his hair had turned grey and his hands trembled with age, his faith remained unshaken. But whispers began to circulate of strange happenings in the neighbouring town of Dark Hollow. Children spoke of a man with no face and a tall black hat who visited their rooms at night. They claimed he stood silently at the foot of their beds, his presence paralysing, his shadow stretching impossibly long. The townsfolk, terrified, turned to Father Elias for help. Though his body was frail, his resolve was strong. He packed his rosary, holy water, and a Bible, and set out for Dark Hollow. The town was steeped in fear. Windows were shuttered, and no children played in the streets. Father Elias visited the homes of those who claimed to have seen the Hat Man, listening to their trembling accounts. Each story was the same: a dark figure in a wide-brimmed hat, watching silently, his presence an overwhelming weight on their souls, telling them to do bad things. Elias prayed with the families, assuring them that the power of God would protect them, but deep down, unease gnawed at him. The creature was unlike anything he had encountered before. That night, Father Elias decided to confront the entity directly. He stayed in the home of a family whose child had seen the Hat Man. The room was small and cold, lit only by a single candle. Elias knelt beside the bed, clutching his rosary, and waited. The hour crept past midnight when the candle flickered and went out. The air grew heavy, suffocating, and the shadows in the room seemed to shift and swell. Then he appeared. At first, it was just a vague outline in the corner of the room, but it grew clearer as Elias stared. A tall, thin figure stood before him, draped in shadows as black as ink. The Hat Man's face was featureless, a blank void beneath the wide brim of his hat. Father Elias rose to his feet, his voice firm despite the dread coursing through him. "In the name of God, I command you to leave this place." The Hat Man tilted his head slightly, as if amused. He did not speak, but the room filled with a low, droning hum that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Elias began to recite the Lord's Prayer, his voice steady, but with each word, the Hat Man grew taller, his shadow engulfing the room. The droning hum grew louder, vibrating in Elias's chest, threatening to drown out his prayers. "You have no power here," Elias shouted, raising his crucifix. The Hat Man extended a long, shadowy hand, and the crucifix flew from Elias's grip, clattering to the floor. A deep, echoing voice filled the room, not spoken, but felt in the depths of Elias's mind. "Your light is weak, Shepard." Elias's legs buckled as the presence overwhelmed him. He fumbled for the holy water, splashing it toward the figure. The Hat Man recoiled briefly, his form flickering like a dying flame, but he did not vanish. The shadows closed in around Elias, and he fell to his knees, gasping for breath. The Hat Man loomed over him, his void-like face mere inches away. Elias clutched his rosary, whispering a final prayer. "I fear no evil," he whispered, tears streaming down his face, "for thou art with me." The Hat Man extended his hand once more, and Elias felt an icy grip around his heart. The world faded into darkness, and the last thing he saw was the figure's empty face gazing at him with an unnatural stillness. The next morning, the family found Elias kneeling in the room, his rosary clutched tightly in his lifeless hands. The Hat Man was gone, and the oppressive air that had plagued Dark Hollow had lifted. The townsfolk buried Father Elias with honor, hailing him as a hero who had given his life to protect them. But the children knew the truth. Late at night, when the shadows stretched long and the air grew still, some claimed to see a tall figure standing at the edge of the graveyard, a white-brimmed hat casting a shadow over an empty face. Even the righteous can fall when the darkness is too great. Remember, the Hat Man watches those who think they are safe in the light. Pray that he does not set his gaze upon you. I am the witness, and I have seen what waits in the deepest shadows.